Hi everyone, this is Danielle, also known as Gently Smiling Jaws, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. I mostly talk about cross stitch here, but occasionally crochet or some other crafts will get included as well, and also talk about other things like tea. And today I'm not going to go too much into tea, but I am drinking a strawberry hibiscus from Wise, W-I-Z-E, and it's not actually a tea in that they use the leaves from coffee plants to make their drink. And I know that sometime relatively recently they kind of shifted gears somewhat, and they're doing like kind of canned tea beverages. I just checked their website just before making this video because I sort of thought they were getting out of having dry tea sort of completely, but on their website they still show some flavors. It's far fewer than they had in the past, and I'm not sure if those are just remnants that are going away eventually or sort of what the deal is. But I had I had a number of flavors that I had bought in kind of, they had large kind of 50 tea bag, like this big, kind of foil pouch with 50 tea bags in it. And so I still have some of those left, so I'm working through it. And I don't know whether they will still be offering the dry tea once I've gone through what I've got. But I figure that, if they don't, I will miss it, but I've got plenty of tea on hand, so I can't be too disappointed. Let's see here. I do have some finishes, or rather I have a start and finish and a finish, which is kind of a finish for now. It's the book of stamps. We'll get to that in a minute or two here. I've got my notes with me in hopes that I don't forget anything that I want to say here. I'm gonna go, I think, in chronological order, I think, instead of starting with my finishes, just because I've jotted things down in that way of what I worked on. I feel like, as far as number of stitches, I got quite a bit in since my last video, but maybe not on the projects I was supposed to work on. Well, I guess in some ways yes, in some ways no. We'll see. Let me take another sip here and then we'll get on to the cross stitch. Okay. Last video I started the Arcana cell, where it has all the tarot cards, the major arcana, but instead of having kind of a full card, it has a little kind of symbol for each one there. And I haven't gotten much further since the last video. I had kind of started in on the outline of the magician there, and obviously finished that one and moved on to the next little bit there. But so got a little bit further. That was 181 stitches, and then this kind of got set aside as I worked on other things. So obviously I do want to get back to working on this again, as it's I really like the simplicity of just having the little symbols for each of the cards. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think I've stitched anything yet that has a kind of like a full tarot card on it. I think I have some patterns I have, but I don't think I have actually stitched one yet. I'm sure I will eventually, but not yet. But yes, and as I mentioned in my previous video, this is I'm doing stitching 1/1 on a 32 count fabric, because I didn't want to. I wanted to pull something from my stash, and I liked this fabric best, and it's a 32 count that I had bought when I sort of, some time ago, as I was first kind of adding to my my stash when I did some orders, you know, to start kind of building up my fabric stash. At the time, 32 count was what I was stitching on the most, and now over time that's kind of shifted to being mostly 40 count. So I had this fabric, I really liked the fabric and had wanted to stitch on it, but wasn't sure, you know, what I was going to stitch that I wanted to do sort of at 32 count instead of smaller, but decided to go ahead and do the over one on this. And I'm finding, you know, I'm finding it a little fiddly to kind of get the stitches to sit how I want them to sit, but you know, so far I'm happy, and I enjoy. I know in the last video I talked about whether I was going to do any like bits of color, like the little symbols that are for each of the different, you know, kind of suits. If I was going to do those in a different color. Right now I'm kind of thinking no. Let me bring this up to the camera again. Come on, is it going to focus? Focus. There we go. There's just a little bit of variegation in there. It's sort of the like kind of black and blue and gray. I think this is, I know I said in the other video, I think the color's called Fading Ink, and it's a Silken Colors floss. So, again, not so much progress on this one, but between the other things I've been working on, I did get a good number of stitches in. So I'm sort of going in order of what I had worked on. I think I worked on the one I just showed like the day after filming my last video. I worked on it like one evening, and then had not gotten back to it since. But so that was that. Let me just double check the days that I was on. So yeah, so I had worked on that. Next was I pulled out the Bivas sampler again, and I got another band and a little further. This one, so I did the band with the people and the camels on it, and then started on the band underneath that. And so the Arcana cell, I did 181 stitches. This I put in 616 stitches. So I feel like I'm making some progress. Still obviously have quite a ways to go. Let's see, is this one? Okay, this I have done, I'm at 12.93% so far on this pattern, so obviously plenty of stitching left to do, but now that I've, you know, kind of pulled this out a few times in recent weeks, I feel like I'm, you know, kind of getting some more progress on this. So happy to see that. And I'm still you know, kind of enjoying the kind of tone on tone color combo here thing with the Be Stitch Me Sand Dollar Ada and the Silken Colors in Wood Smoke. So that's progress I made on that. And wait, the day I worked on this, I got kind of quite a bit done, because not only did there was a period of a couple days I worked on the other one that I had showed you, and then there was a couple days I didn't stitch at all, and then I got in the stitches on this, and then I went on to make some more progress on airmail, and that is what I then worked on for the next several days. I think there were 3 days in a row I picked up the airmail and worked on finishing up the March stamp that I was working on. And I have now finished the March stamps. Now you can see where I am at. So here is the March stamp there. Let me bring this kind of up close. Maybe a little too close for the camera to. But yeah, so we've got that there, and then we've got February. So January is yet to be released. Did February, did March, April. Lindy Stitches confirmed that April is not going to come out until next year, so a ways to wait for that. So what I'm going to do with this is I have to get around to finishing doing my little border that I have going around, and then at that point I may figure out kind of what I'm taking this portion of the fabric and then leaving enough margin and cutting it out so that I don't have such a big piece here, and then starting in, and I'm not gonna too close to the end of April now, but probably sometime next month I will start in on May, and that will be on another page. So we've got May is already released, so I can start in on that, and I've got what I need as far as floss. June, we'll see if it releases this June, and if so, then I will I don't know. We'll see whether or not I actually start it this June if it gets released then, but I'll try to at least pick up whatever supplies I need as far as the flosses to make sure I've got the flosses and the pattern, make sure I've got them all on hand so I can start in. So this is obviously a long ways to go, but was happy to get this in, and although I won't finish this whole page this year since I gotta wait for the other patterns to come out, I'll see if I can at least get the little border that I have finished, and then kind of set this page of things aside for the future. So long-term project, but I was happy to get this done because I want to make sure I'm moving along. And because this was small, so I did quite a bit. Let's see, how many stitches did I do overall to finish that up? That was about, if I added things up right, it was 1,196 stitches. So I put in the effort because I'm like, I wanted to have the satisfaction of finishing something, since a lot of the things that I'm working on are larger. So I thought, let's push through, get this one done, and then I keep moving along. So yeah, I'm happy on that. And I also, not only happy just to finish this, but getting to see how kind of multiple ones are starting to look on a page here, and see how things are going to start to come together as I continue working. So happy about that. Next, after working on that, I guess maybe I was just in a bird mood, and I had a number of patterns kind of in my stash from Yasmin's Made with Love that have these kind of adorable little birds on them, and thought, well, maybe I want to start one of those. But as I was looking through the patterns, instead of starting one of the larger ones, I decided I was going to start a small, because I figured, again, in trying to start some things that I can start them and then know I can hopefully get them off my plate before too long, in addition to these big things I'm working on. So I had a start that turned into a start and finish. So this is, let's see here, Summer Folk Bird by Yasmin's Made with Love. And I wanted to do this all, from what I had on hand. So I had this piece of fabric. It's just a small little 8x12 piece of 46 count. And I'm probably going to mispronounce the name here. It's Warata from Fox and Rabbit. And when I was looking at photos online, when I was picking up some kind of small pieces of fabric to kind of test out, you know, different counts and colors and all that. I thought that this fabric was going to be a lot more kind of red than it turned out being. This is much more pink here. And so when I got it and saw the color in person, I was like, yeah, this wasn't quite what I thought. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to use it for, and I'll just set aside and figure something out later. So as I was looking at this pattern and trying to decide what to use, I saw this piece of fabric and thought, this seems like something that would work for this little bird here. And I decided I was going to just, you know, pull colors from my stash that weren't following the colors that were in the pattern. And so this, oh, and the other thing, because I looked up because I wasn't sure what the name of the fabric meant, and it appears to be a type of flower that's in Australia, where I think that's where fox and rabbit is, and the flower seems to be the color that this fabric is. And so sort of fittingly, to go along with that, I went through sort of my stash of cottage garden threads, flosses, which are also from Australia, and was pulling from there to pick my colors. And most of what I used are, at least when I ordered, I had looked on their website recently and didn't see really any that were available. But when I had placed my order sometime last year, like mid last year, late summer, I don't remember. But when I placed my order, they had something available that were called like nude packs, where it was a pack of like, I think 10 of, you know, sort of flosses where they were seconds or misdyes or something, and none of them were labeled. It was just a pack with the floss in it. And so as I was ordering things, I, you know, just threw like 2 packs of those into my cart and figured, well, just, you know, I wanted the surprise of seeing, you know, what I was going to get, and then I'd figure out what to do. So let me look at my notes here. So the colors that I used for this are the 2 named colors were verbena and gilt. And I think the verbena is this color that's along the back, and then gilt is the yellow there. And this here is a DM, the white is the DMC, and everything else are things from that you know, kind of pack of colors here. I'm not so happy with my lighting here. Hang on just a moment. I'm going to make some adjustments. Okay, let's try this again. I think this is going to probably get more glare off my glasses, but hopefully you can see the project a bit better. So this is, fabric is 46 count, and this, I decided that this was going to be sort of a learning piece for me. I didn't want to, you know, pull, I didn't want to frog things. There was some things where I messed up, like along that head. I think it was some part around here. I didn't quite go as far down as I should have, and so I just fudged stuff and made it work, because I'm like, I'm not gonna frog. What I was doing here, since this floss is variegated, and a number of the flosses here, you have variegation, I was trying not to get stripes on the back. I wanted to see how that was going to turn out, and so you can see it's, you know, a little more, the colors are a little more grouped and kind of blobs there. And yeah, so I was trying to avoid stripes, and I managed to do that. I'm not 100% certain I like the result better than having kind of a stripey thing going on, but again, I wanted to see what it was like, so now I know. And there are times when I may want to do this, and other times I may want to have the stripes. So learning process. And then the colors that I used for both kind of the outline and the side of the wing, there's 2 different colors there, and the lighter color ended up being kind of closer than ideal to the lighter variegation in the other color. So I ended up tossing in some back stitching around parts of the wing to try and make the areas kind of stand out a bit more. I think it's not perfect, but again, learning and see what I could do to try and fix, something that I wasn't thrilled with, but I wasn't so upset I was going to, remove it. What else did I do on this? Those were kind of the main things, were the color with the trying to keep things from striping, and then kind of fudging things and doing that back stitching. So yeah, I feel like I learned from this and I finished it, and I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do with this piece, whether I'm gonna stick it in a little frame or figure out something else to do. I'm not sure, but learning process. And the number of stitches, 1,951. So there was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think over the course of 4 different days, I worked on this. There was one day where I got in kind of the bulk of the stitches last weekend. But yeah. Oh, the other thing on this was that the border on this, in the pattern, the border was like a brown. Since I was just pulling from what was in my cottage garden ones, and one of the kind of nude colors was one that had some brownish tones that was variegated. And so what I did on this was, normally if I'm using variegated colors, I'll do the one stitch at a time method, but instead what I did was on this I went and I just stitched one leg of the stitch kind of all the way around, and when I kind of kept going till my strand ran out, and then I grabbed the other one and then just kind of continued along to finish up. So this has, it doesn't have, kind of keeping the variegation going one stitch at a time, and I wanted to see how that turned out. I think I prefer going one stitch at a time, but I wanted to see how it turned out on this. So again, just kind of learning for the future. Yeah, so those are the things that I did on this. Some things that I'm happier with than others, but overall, even the stuff I'm not as thrilled about, overall I'm happy with the little piece, because I think it's a cute pattern, and yeah, and it was something where I could finish it up and have that satisfaction of having something done. And this is one that I wouldn't be unhappy to stitch again in the future. I know that she's got a number of other, kind of small birds, so if I was going to do another one of hers right now, it would probably be a different small bird, but happy with that. So that's my second finish there. And then, let's see. So then the only other thing that I have worked on was, in keeping true to my word of wanting to make sure that even if I'm not meeting the goals for number of stitches, I'm at least working on this in between, kind of each video. And so I did pick up No Time Like the Present and put in, how many stitches did I put in? 161 stitches. I did the outline up here, and then some of the darker brown over in this area, so not a ton of stitches, but still I made some progress, and keeping it going. So I think as long as I keep working on it, I'm sure there will be times like this last bit where I just pick it up for a little bit and don't get much done, and then other times where I go and make a considerable amount of progress, and hopefully I will get a bigger chunk done coming up. And I do have to get over to the the other side over here and continue working down. But yeah, so progress, progress. All right, let me set these back and see what else I have to mention. So let me, grab my tea and consult my notes. Okay, designing. You've seen my mentions in previous videos about my little I've come up with a design to do a temperature tracker for next year, and my hope is that I will figure out my design so that I can stitch everything except for the temperature portion of it, so that going into next year, the actual putting in the temperature will be all I need to do to get it finished, instead of having it be something where I'm then spending the next however many years catching up on everything for the year it was supposed to be for. So we'll see. Of course, I don't make any promises, but I have not spent any further time tweaking the design itself. What I have done is I was looking over my DMC floss card a bit more, trying to figure out what colors I would want to use for the temperatures, and kind of trying to figure things out. The one thing, I appreciate the floss card a lot, except for the fact of having everything fixed there on the thing makes it so that you can't really put colors next to one another until you have the actual flosses. I think I've seen things where people maybe get one of those floss cards and then kind of chop it up so that they've got the separate things, which I don't know, maybe somewhere down the road I would find find that advantageous to do, but I'm not at the point of doing that yet. So what I did was spent some time looking over that card, picking out colors I thought might work, also looking at sort of what I had in my stash and potentially needed to have on hand, and kind of picked up don't have it yet, but put in an order for some DNC so that I could expand what I have in stash, and then I can start to go through there and fully figure out the colors that I'm using, and then kind of finish making the tweaks to the pattern. I still want to come up with I haven't spent more time on the border that I want to do around. I'm thinking I want to have a border around it and incorporate kind of a legend into it, so that there's something there that you can actually see what the different colors mean, so that assuming I manage to finish doing this, not only the designing portion and then manage to stitch all of it, that 10 years down the road, when I pick this back up again, I can know, oh, okay, yes, I did this, and this is the year that it was in, and this is what the colors mean, so that I have kind of all the information I need right there, so that I know, kind of what everything means. But we'll see. Sort of when I had started on that, it was that one early morning where I sat down and spent a number of hours just kind of getting the bulk of that kind of set down, and then there's certainly more tweaking to do, and I just haven't gotten back to doing it. But that's where things stand on that. The other things are plans for May, for next month. And there are a couple of things that I had seen mentioned as far as May. One being that it was going to be Marroomy May, and so stitching on Marroomy's designs, and because I already am working on the Bivas sampler, which you saw earlier, as well as the from Yalda to Nauruz, which I'm still working on the border for. Since I have those two in the works, I think what I will do in May is just continue to try and work on one or both of those pieces to make a larger den in them, because they're bigger ones. I don't think I'm gonna start anything new in favor of making progress on those, but if I were to start something new, it would probably be one of the small little animals, because I have a number of those patterns in my stash, and yeah, if I was going to start a new pattern, it would be one of those, but I suspect I will mostly just trying to make progress on the ones I've got going right now. Next is that I had also heard that it was Manning May for Carolyn Manning's designs. I have never stitched one of her designs, but, you know, and I'm someone who, you know, full coverage doesn't really appeal to me that much. Like the big kits where, you know, you're doing a big design and it's just going to take forever to do all those. That, I mean, never say never, like my last video, but it's not something that I gravitate to. Not something where I'm looking for full coverage and that's what I want to do. However, the full coverage type of designs that Carolyn Manning's are, with like the quilt type ones, the shooting star, things like that, those I do find, you know, interesting. And I saw that she's got a sale on her patterns on her website that, you know, the percentage off depends on how much you're spending, and I think it runs through the end of the month, because I had looked at that earlier, and I think it runs through April 30th. And even without the discount, it looked like the patterns were, you know, pretty reasonably priced. So, yeah. So I went through there, and I'm trying to, you know, decide for certain what I'm going to do. I think it will, again, likely be one of the smaller ones, just because even the smaller ones have a ton of stitches in them. And so maybe starting off with a small one before getting into a bigger one would be the way to go. However, at the end of, you know, towards the end of May is when my birthday is, so I'm trying to decide what I want to do for a birthday start, if I do a birthday start. I'm not fully decided yet. One of Carolyn Manning's larger designs is called Birthday Cake, and I like how it looks. It's not a color combo that I normally gravitate towards, but I don't know, I find it appealing. So I don't know that I want that to be a birthday start for me, particularly if I'm looking at doing, you know, a small, which I'm probably not going to be done with by the end of the month, considering the number of stitches. But I don't know, that's an idea that's floating out there that I'm considering, but haven't nailed that down yet. Other things. Oh, let me give an eSIM update, since I've been doing that. I had said before that my eSIM, the one I had that was first activated kind of end of January, beginning of February this year, that was the one that was going through a ton of data. I kept topping it up, and then it sort of went quiet. It stopped. You know, no more data movement on it, and because of some stuff going on with Nomad's system, I wasn't going to be able to top that one up anyway, even if it had used the data. So that one, you know, ended up expiring without all the data being used. So I don't know what happened to the folks who were using it, why there was no more data transfer. I hope folks are okay, but obviously there is no way for me to know. But with that one having, you know, kind of run its course, I had, or, you know, knowing it was going to run its course, I went ahead and had, you know, purchased another eSIM to donate, and that one probably took like a week and a half before it was activated. And now that one is starting to see some movement. So like with the other one, I've got, instead of doing multiple ones at a time, I'm focusing on trying to do like one at a time and watch that and try and keep it topped up. So I feel like, I guess to me, obviously there are plenty of organizations that you can donate to for many causes, and for stuff in Gaza in particular, you've got options of where to donate. For doing the eSIMs right now, that is for me, I guess, and this is a selfish thing because it's how it makes me feel, is it makes me feel like I can see how I'm helping somebody. Obviously, that's not to say you shouldn't donate to the causes where you don't see where exactly it goes, but for this, I donate and I can see that data moving, and so doing that so that I can see that the data is helping somebody out and trying to keep that going. That's sort of my focus for donations right now. So that's where that is at. Let's see. Oh, the other thing that I will talk about in this video, and we'll see, I don't know if I'll start incorporating this into my videos more or not, because we'll kind of see how things go. But let me get some more tea here for my voice, is books. One moment. So, books. When I was younger, so before I graduated high school, or rather we'll just say before college, I was an avid reader. I read a ton. I really enjoyed it. I read all the time. And then I went to college. And don't get me wrong, I think that there were many positive things about college, but the one thing that college did that I'm still unhappy about this is that the amount of reading required killed my desire to read. I stopped reading for fun. It took many years before I started reading for fun again, and it's never been the same. And there are sort of fits and spurts where I would get back into reading for a period of time and then I would stop again. And it's happened numerous times. And during, I'm trying to remember when exactly this was, if it 2020, 2021, being stuck at home, I decided I was going to try and get back into reading again. And this time, when I did that, my goals, I had kind of two goals. I wanted to focus on stuff the time that was an easy read, and I just wanted to get back into the habit of reading. So I decided I was going to read young adult novels, and not only that, I was trying to specifically find kind of more diverse young adult novels, because obviously there's plenty of stuff out there, but I wanted to read more stuff that maybe wasn't stuff that I would have read or picked up in the past. And so I read a number of things then that I enjoyed. There was a number of things I had read. The Gilded Ones, I read that first book and really enjoyed it, and I know that the second book has come out since. I have not read that yet, and I don't know whether the third is already out or is going to be released coming up. And so I want to, it's not happening just yet, but I want to go back and reread that first one and then catch up on those. I also had gone through, not all of them were out yet, but I believe the author was L.L. McKinney, doing sort of a retelling of Alice in Wonderland, and I read, I think maybe the first two books were out at that point, and I got through the first two, not gotten to the rest yet. Cinderella is Dead, and I'm blanking on the author's name. I liked that one quite a lot. I feel like there was other stuff too, but those were kind of the ones off the top of my head. But yeah, I had started going through, and I was getting back into the swing of reading things where I was just getting ebooks from my local library and kind of going through stuff. And then in the midst of kind of doing that, that's when I decided that I needed to go back to well, it was going back to school, but it was more doing a certificate program because I wanted to change careers. And I, even though I didn't have to do this I'm somebody who, because the field was so completely different, I felt like I would feel better if I had a little more background knowledge. So I started doing that, but I was doing that while soon after I restarted the classes. It was then both doing the classes and working, and I had zero free time, and it was a very intense period, and all the reading that I was doing again switched from reading for fun to reading for classes, and it made me dislike reading again, and I hadn't got back into it since. So what I am doing now, particularly because I'm spending a lot of my free time cross-stitching, is I am trying to get audiobooks from the library, because if I can listen while stitching, then I'm kind of got my multitasking going on. So in the past couple weeks, I had wanted to listen to The Haunting of Hill House, just because, I had obviously heard of the book. I had never read it myself, did not know any of the details about the book really, because I know that like Netflix had done an adaptation of it, which I had watched like the first episode of that and had meant to go back and watch the rest, and I never did, and I still haven't. But my understanding is that the Netflix show, I've heard the Netflix show, the whole thing is quite good, but very different from the book. And so that's what I had wanted to thought, well, let's just start there. But it wasn't available at the time when I was browsing, and so I ended up starting with We Have Always Lived in the Castle, another Shirley Jackson book, which hadn't read, didn't know anything about, although I'd certainly heard, the title. And that one was available, so when I put my hold on The Haunting of Hill House, I, listened to We Have Always Lived in the Castle, which I didn't know at all what it was about going into it, and I enjoyed it. And then shortly after I finished that up, then The Haunting of Hill House became available, and I listened to that as well. So again, both things that I enjoyed. Neither were quite what I expected going into it, because I didn't really have an expectation, but that sort of slowly kind of got me going again. So I've got some holds placed with the library, and we'll see what comes in, and whether I can fully get back into the swing of things with reading, this time with audiobooks. And I have plenty of regular physical books around as well that I need to get to, including one that's a trilogy of books. I can't remember the name now. The author is N.K. Jemisin. I'm probably not remembering that right, but it's a trilogy of books which I had heard good things about. I wanted to read them myself, but I had actually picked up this set of books and had given them to my dad, and unfortunately, by that point in what was going on with him, he started in on reading the first book, but didn't get very far before he was too ill to focus on stuff and passed. So I have those books here, and I've been meaning to get to them, but I still haven't brought myself to pick those books up just yet. So hopefully by getting back into stuff through audiobooks, I will kind of get that habit restarted, and I can start enjoying books again, and hopefully not decide to take any classes other than hobby ones for fun that could possibly kill my love of reading again. So I think that is all I've got for this time. So if you made it this far in the video, if you were working on a project while listening, I'd love to know what you were working on, so if you could leave a comment with that, or if you have any book suggestions, I wouldn't mind those as well, as I'm trying to figure out what I want to read and kind of go from there. All right, well, thank you for watching, and I will be back in 2 weeks, hopefully with more progress to show you on my projects. Thanks so much for watching.